Alright, welcome back guys, it's the Novice and I'm back with another video. Today's topic will be about keyloggers. Now first, you guys might be wondering, what is a keylogger? To put simply, it's something that copies your keystrokes as you type. So say you go onto Google and you type in Google Images. What a keylogger should do is take in the letters Google space IMAGES. That is pretty much the functionality of what a keylogger is meant to do. Now we'll be using Python. We'll be using Python, and then we'll be using a special Python module known as pynput. Now pynput is interesting because it has two main goals. The first is to listen, and the second is to control. Now, what are you listening to and what are you controlling? Well, in this case, it could be two things, and that can be either your keyboard or your mouse. Now, in this specific instance, we're gonna only be looking at the keyboard because we're making a keylogger. But who knows, maybe in the future I'll play around with the controller and listener for the mouse as well. Now, before I go any further with the video, I wanted to give huge shout out to the YouTube channel Build with Python. They were a huge inspiration as to why I did this. So I did mine, but with a little twist. But if you have the time, go check them out because they made amazing content as it regards to the keylogger. So without wasting any more time, let's hop right into the video. Okay, now I'm not one to withhold information, so I'll get right into it and show you guys all the code that I use to create my own local keylogger. Drum roll, please. All right, and here it is. Now, like I said, we're using the module pynput. Now, as I said, this pynput is used to listen to keyboards and mouses and to control keyboards and mouses. The main focus will be on this listener. Now, I also did key, but it honestly wasn't used here. Now, I'll go through my process and my thinking of how I made this keylogger. So I won't start from the top because that's not how this originally started. I'll start with this piece of code right here. Now, the main goal of a keylogger is to get whatever you type and to put it into a text file so that you can see what the person you're trying to get that information from has typed. Say, for example, you want to use it to gain information on to see what someone's typing in on Google. You want to be able to store that somewhere. So that is precisely what this part of the code is meant to do. So here we use with open keystrokes text A as key file. So to simply run through this, open creates a new file if it's not already existing. So in this case, it creates keystrokes. However, if the file is already created, it then comes to this letter A. And what this letter A means is to append to a file. So it doesn't completely write over what's already been there. It appends to the end of it so that we can have a we can continuously gather what someone has typed. Now, we use this with open function because in a simple sense, it saves us on our resources. Now, when you usually open a file, it takes resources on your memory and things of that nature. So with the with, it makes it so that when it opens, that the file eventually closes as well after everything is run through. Now, the next part that I believe is the most interesting is the part where it actually takes the listener. Now, this part is pretty simple. Wait, actually, before I continue, let me explain. So this part of this line acts as the variable name keyfile. And then here, we simply use keyfile.write to key string, which we will use in here, or which is defined up here. But I'll get into that later. Now we use something called with listener. With listener on press equals key presses as listening. So this pretty much has a similar structure to the one on top. However, the command we're doing is different. Instead of opening a key file or opening a file, we're using the listener function that we imported to record whenever we press something using this function up here, which I'll get into a little later. So again, here we use a with because listeners, once they're open, they need to be closed to save on the resources that you're using. So whether it, well, with this one, it's going to be memory. So after it's done listening, it closes the connection it closes the listening connection that's been made. And then I said before, this right here is pretty much just the variable name. So what this does, listening.join, it takes whatever you type and it joins it together. Now in a normal function, when it joins the lettering together, like say for example you type the word free, you just type the word free, what is actually being put into the list would be something that looks like this. Sorry, let me, okay. Okay, this is what would come out into the text file. Now, this is progress. We're recording what the user is typing. However, we do not want it to be stuck in this format. We want it to remove it so that the extra apostrophes are gone. So that leads us quite nicely into our function. So here the function is called key presses. Now the goal of this function is to gather the information from the key, which is also something that was imported from this listener function right here. So here I created a variable called key strength. Now the type that the key variable is of a variable called, or is the type called key code. Now we want to take that and convert it into a string, which makes it something readable for us. So that's pretty much the purpose of this. Key string is equal to string key. Simple enough. Now here's where we get into parts of the code to make it look cleaner, which is key string equals key string dot replace this apostrophe with nothing. Now the replace command takes whatever you put here and replaces it with whatever you put in here. In this case, it takes this apostrophe and then makes it so that it's nothing. Now, for me, that's a little ineffective because what if what someone is typing also has an apostrophe in it? So with that being the case, I kind of made a code or piece of the code here that will display whenever an apostrophe is written out. And I'll be able to test it when I actually run this. Now, I also made several other lines of code that you guys can see here. And the reason I made these codes are because without these, say we press the spacebar key, this is what would pop out as a result. And instead we wanted to actually type out a space. So we just took the key dot space, which would have been output, and replaced it with an actual space. Then with enter, usually when people click enter, they would like to form a new line. And also, it just makes everything a lot neater in the text file, trust. And then, as I said here, this is so that the apostrophe is gonna be visible. And finally, we have this key backspace. Now with this one, I couldn't figure out a way just yet to actually delete the previous letter. I think I could figure it out if I wanted to, but besides the point. I pretty much made this as a way to indicate that, okay, a backspace is taking place by creating on a new line back and then the rest of the text. So I can distinctly see the letter before the back and in my head put together that it's been deleted. So honestly, after this, there's not too much else to show. So that's the code in its entirety. Now I'm gonna run it so you guys have an example of how it works. So let me save this because I removed some extra junk from here. Now, as I said, after I start this, it's gonna go into this text file and record everything that I type. So let's go ahead and get started on that right away. So even if I come here, I press enter, I type, hello, I'm the novice, and that's all I type. If I go to keystrokes.text, this is what we see. Hello, key.caps lock, I, key.caps lock, am the novice, I'm the novice. Now, this pretty much shows me something else that I'd have to change, but other than the keys.cap lock, this looks exactly as I typed it. Now, as I said, this also provides a way so that I can still see the apostrophe that I typed in without canceling out with this replace function. And I was able to space out everything. Whenever I pressed enter, this was entered in here too, and everything ran exactly as I planned. Now, that's pretty much it for this keylogger, but I plan on making another one, making some changes to this one really, because my game plan, in my head, this is a little ineffective as well. As an attacker, as someone who has an interest in getting someone else's information, what I'd have to do with this, well, actually, I have one last step I have to show you guys, and that is this step. So what I did here, it's not simple, it's not complex. I have to change the .py to .pyw, which makes it so that this can run as a process in the background of a local computer when this is installed on it, which I'll show you guys right now. Let me see. Okay, so this is the file right here, I think. Okay, wrong way. This is the file. Now I double clicked it. It ran really quickly, so we wouldn't even notice if it did. Now let's go to Google and just run a test. Yo, hi there. Boom. And I'll click out of this super quickly. Now, we don't even have to open it from there. If we come here and go into the keystrokes file, we should see, oh, I didn't delete it from the other one. That's okay. But we can see here, it says, yo, hi there. Now, I probably have to make some changes for this key as well. Key control, okay, that's right. But it pretty much does exactly as I expected it to. Now, to make this entire process stop, you would have to go into the task manager. Here I usually go into details. I scroll down to wherever it says py.w. Then I simply just end this task, end the process. And from there, I should no longer be recording the keystrokes. So back to what I was saying, I think this is a little ineffective. I do like the fact that it can run in the background of anyone's computer. However, the main issue I face with this is the amount of work I would have to do to get this on someone else's computer. I would pretty much have to get a USB drive, install this keylogger.pyw, get it up on their computer or their device, and then run this all physically. Now, in all honesty, that's a lot of work. So I was thinking in the future I would come back to this because I was gonna do some studying or some touching up on creating reverse shells. Now, if I can get this to properly run with a reverse shell, where I get the victim to connect to my computer, I send over this file right here and run it on their computer, and then I make it so that I receive the text file back onto my computer. That would be the most effective use of this. However, I'm open to any ideas that you guys might have on how I can make this keylogger a remote keylogger so that I can use this on other people's computer without having to put it on USB and then go to the computer physically. If you guys know how or have any ideas, just let me know in the comments. I'm always open and I'm trying to learn more like you guys. So with that being said, that is my video on keyloggers. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. If you like the video, like the video. If you want to support, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Without further ado, I'm done. Peace.